Welcome to episode 94 of Broad Street Hustle. I'm your host, Tommy Nanny, bringing you a exciting show, Super Bowl recap. We'll give some thoughts on how we see next year shaping up, and we'll touch on the Sixers. It's starting to get into the lean months as we wind up to baseball season, as pitchers and catchers have reported. So we're going to get through it. We have the normal crew with us tonight. Jason Sayeda.
Hey, Tom.
Jason. We have Jimmy the Chalk.
Thomas.
And Christopher Michael Meeker.
Well, lucky none of us are real Chiefs fans. We wouldn't have been at the parade the other day. So we're all safe and sound here in Philadelphia suburbs.
Okay, and we got, as you can see, the Flyers Stadium Series jersey, although this was the Winter Classic jersey. So Flyers have their Stadium Series game Saturday night. We will not talk about that. Just want to throw it out there. All right, let's kick off. Super Bowl recap, episode 94, Broad Street Hustle. Maker, you picked the Chiefs. We'll give you first shot.
So I just, I wanted to go back to all the keys I thought, that we talked about in the last podcast and how it kind of shaped up. So we talked about Kansas City's keys to the game, or at least I did. One of them was the scheme defensively to pressure Purdy without the blitz. We talked about how good Purdy was against the blitz. And when they did blitz in very big moments in the game and played man coverage on critical third downs at the last drive, obviously, in regulation, and then the drive in overtime, it worked on third down. I think Purdy played pretty well in this game. One of the things we talked about was him getting off to a fast start. I think he outplayed Mahomes in the first half, but I guess Kansas City even though they gave up only 10 points in the first half, I think he outplayed him. They didn't score enough points in the first half to call it a fast start. But in the end, obviously, I think he played pretty well. They didn't lose because Brock Purdy didn't play well. I also said for Kansas City, it can't be all Kelsey. And although Kelsey got his catches, there were 24 other catches by other receivers in the game. So obviously, KC capitalized on that. Used play action and motion. Well, last play of the game, play action, motion, reminiscent of the Super Bowl last year. That's what wins the game for Kansas City in this one. I think that in the second half, I think that Greenlaw injury might have played a part in how open the center of the field was in the second half. Although a lot of people that I was hearing talk this week said it, I don't know if they were deflecting, said it didn't really quite matter that he got hurt, that his replacement played okay. But there were crossers in the middle of the field all over the place in the second half. So I have to think that Greenlaw injury certainly hurt Kansas City in the game. My other keys were for San Francisco, the McCaffrey getting his 75 yards. Now, he did get his 75 yards. It did take him to overtime to get it. But the one thing that I think they didn't do was give him the ball on second and third down in regulation because they only needed 5 yards. And of course, they passed the ball, and then Spags dials up the blitz in the third down, and they, was the block pass, right? Not the rush throw in overtime where they rushed his throw and he had a guy open but just couldn't get it to him because he didn't have enough time. So he got his yards, but I think they didn't give it to him in the most opportune time of the game, and I think that cost him as well.
They didn't give him the ball in the third quarter. When they went 3 and out, 4 possessions in a row. I think he touched the ball once or twice at most. The whole quarter, until that very, very last drive of the quarter where they had a few snaps. So I just
think they got away from him a little bit in that latter parts of the game, and he was running hard. He was getting his yards, but I think in the most opportune part of the game where they could have gotten that first down by running the ball and run the clock out, kick the field goal to win it. Obviously, they didn't do that. The other key was don't miss makeable field goals. Now, Moody didn't miss makeable field goals. Matter of fact, he broke a record, and then it was subsequently broken again by Butker later in the game. But he did miss the extra point. And San Fran was kind of chasing. I was blocked, but San Fran was kind of chasing that all game, and
Yeah, but
it
it was
enabled the
blocked. It was
Chiefs.
blocked because he kicked it low.
Yeah, it was a
So
low
it was
kick.
his
Yeah,
fault.
yeah, it was his fault, but I mean, it was
fault.
blocked. He didn't miss it, meaning that he didn't miss the field goal. But anyway, neither here nor there. I mean, they were chasing that point the whole game. That enabled the Chiefs to be able to tie it in regulation with a field goal. And I said this last one tongue in cheek, but it ended up being true. Have the ball last. Well, the Niners could have had the ball last if they got that first down and ended it on a field goal, and they could have had the ball last if they just if they just kicked off in overtime. And they didn't kick off in overtime, so Mahomes knew what he had to do to win the game. Obviously, San Fran doesn't score a touchdown; they kick a field goal. And if you're giving the ball to Mahomes with a chance to win the game, like I was saying on the last podcast, he's going to hurt you, and he hurt him twice. Got a chance to be able to tie it in regulation, got a chance to win it in overtime, and even if San Fran scores a touchdown there, then you know what you have to do, and you have 4 downs to do it. So you're giving him an extra down in every series. I think they should have obviously kicked off. I don't know if his defense was gassed or why he decided to do it. I've heard different reports about why he decided to do it. He said that he wanted the ball if the game was tied after the first 2 possessions to have the ball last to win it in sudden death. But, it turned out to not be the right decision. I don't blame Shanahan, for the loss, but that might have been a mistake as well. And I think in the end, Casey capitalized on the San Fran mistakes, the muffed punt and the missed field goal. And here we are with Patrick Mahomes winning a 3rd Super Bowl, 2nd in a row, and he's only 28 years old. So we might be talking about the GOAT
Jason,
for too long.
you want to?
Yeah, I agree for the most part with most of what Meeker said. I think the turning point in the game was the muff punt because the Chiefs' offense had done nothing up, and that was late in the 3rd quarter. And if San Francisco were to score there, I believe it would have made it a 2-score game, right? Because it was 10-3.
They were up 3, yeah.
10-3.
10-6.
No, 10-6 at that time.
Was it
They were up
10-6?
4, yeah.
Okay. Give them the ball, and when they couldn't do anything to start the second half. Mahomes looked terrible in the interception. They just did nothing, and then all of a sudden, you're punting him the ball, and it hits the guy's leg. I don't want to blame McLeod at all, but he should have tried to jump on it instead of try to scoop it up. But it's not. He had a.
Yeah, it's instincts. I mean, he at least he
saw
saw that he needed to pick it up, but yeah.
Right, exactly. So, and then they scored on the next play. The blocked kick extra point was huge because now, if the score would have been 20 to what would the score have been if it would have been 20 to
2016?
2016, right. So now the Chiefs are not kicking field goals if it's 20 to 16. They got to score touchdowns. Right. But because it's 1916, they could kick a field goal. That's huge.
No, I don't think that's right. I think that it would have been 16-13. So it would have been 17-13.
17-13.
Yeah, because
you're
Kansas
right.
City wound up kicking a field goal
right
prior to the field goal, the
same,
tying field goal. Yeah,
same point, 4 points instead of 3, but just the score is different.
No, what really KC doesn't probably kick that field goal to make
That's what
it.
I'm saying.
So they would have had to go for it on 4th down, and now it comes down to that. And then San Fran knows what they, it changes. Of course,
exactly.
it was huge.
Yes, that's what I meant.
They may have called different plays, and given the circumstance, if they would have been down 4, they might have played it a little differently.
Absolutely.
But we never know what would have happened because they didn't have to do that.
And the 49ers might have defended it differently. You know what I mean? Now, if they're defending for either or, rather than just defending for a touchdown, you know what I mean? They would have defended it differently. But special teams, we had said it. Chiefs special teams are better than the 49ers. Okay, so that came into play. Shanahan, questionable to start the second half, not giving McCaffrey the ball. I don't agree with taking the ball in overtime. I know what he said. He didn't say the defense was gassed. He said he wanted the ball in the 3rd possession. I mean, it's not 100% wrong, but I don't agree
No,
with it.
but also what's stupid is that, with that is Kansas City, you scored a touchdown. Kansas City scores, and now they said they would, but they might go for
two.
Yeah, they go
They
for
definitely
two.
would have gone for two.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
your
he
theory
was
is
just counting on either both teams not scoring or both teams getting a field goal.
which is crazy.
Yeah, with Mahomes, you just can't. So I think that was a mistake. But again, I mean, it's subjective. It's not like it was definitely a mistake. I mean, but I don't agree with it. The Greenlaw injury was humongous because Kelsey did absolutely nothing while Greenlaw was on the field, and then all of a sudden in the second half, Greenlaw got hurt right before halftime, and in the second half when they had time to, figure out different schemes or whatever to get Kelsey the ball, changed the game big time. I think the offensive line for the 49ers was a disaster. Purdy was under siege the whole game. They were missing blocking assignments. Trent Williams had 2 straight penalties that killed them.
Oh, he got blown up on a play too, where he just got put right on his back.
The offensive line was terrible. It was
By
really
a
bad.
backup defensive lineman,
Yep.
by the way.
Yep. And I don't think Purdy had a great game. Did he play well enough to win? He did, because there was any number of plays that could have happened where they would have won the game.
I mean,
I'll point to 4th and 1. If Bosa sticks with Mahomes on that 4th and 1 play, the game's over. Bosa goes to Pacheco, and Mahomes gets the first down easily. If he stays with Mahomes, I think the game's over right there. But again, let's get back to Purdy. Purdy missed throws.
No, there was a throw though he made to Debo where it was a slant where he had the defender beat, and he
threw it in the dirt.
No, he threw a good pass and Debo dropped it.
Well,
I'm going
to get the.
it was like a little low, but Debo had space in front of him, and it was. I think they might have converted the first down event, but I mean, it was would have been a big play. It
He's
was
on my shit list. I didn't get to him
horrible.
yet.
He was horrible.
But Purdy did also miss a crossing route to Debo where he was open, and he put it in the dirt.
And the touchdown to Debo where Chris Jones got in on.
He was kind of under pressure.
Oh, he was. Yeah, Jones was there, but still missed him.
Ayuk pass. Now, I'm going to blame Ayuk and Debo. I watched the quarterback school. I don't know if Chalky watched it or not. He was a little more critical of Purdy than I thought he should have been, because
Ayuk gave up on that route, it looked like.
Ayuk gave up on a route. Purdy didn't give him a good ball either, even though he gave up on a route. But he was critical. Like, he was calling out Purdy on the one play where he had 20-yard pass to Ray McLeod. And he wanted him to go deep to Ayuk, who was kind of covered. But I'm like, well, come on. He
took a 20. Yeah, that's.
I mean,
silly.
Come on. You want to be critical? I mean, again, I've seen Purdy play better. I've seen him, and I'll also give a little bit of blame, not a lot, but a little bit of blame to Purdy on the last play. The
2-minute warning. The 2-minute warning play.
Because if he catches the ball and throws a quick slant to Ayuk, the game's over. But he caught it and he hesitated a little bit, and then he got rushed.
Yeah, he got blitzed.
Now he was under siege, and I'm not going to blame him for the last play in overtime, because yes, McLeod was going to be open and Ayuk was wide open. The guy slipped, but he had the best defensive end in football.
2 linemen let Chris Jones walk up right up the middle. 2 linemen let him go right up the middle.
Offensive line was atrocious. Now, let's get to Debo, all right? He dropped the pass Tommy was talking about. He also dropped another pass. And if you watch that quarterback school, he dogged so many routes during the game. Like, when he doesn't, when he's going to get the ball, he doesn't run hard. When he's not getting the ball and he's just running like clear routes, he doesn't run hard.
There was a jet sweep he got where he needs to stick to the outside. He picks up like 1 or 2 yards. Instead, he tries to cut in, loses 4 yards on first down. Now it's 2nd and 14.
He was a disgrace.
And I think they got a holding penalty. The drive was
and
over.
He's made of glass. He's always hurt. So he was bad during the game. I'm going to blame Ayuk for stopping on that route. And I'm going to blame Kittle on McCaffrey's fumble.
Where was Kittle in the game? What do you have? 1 cat? He converted that 4th down, right? That was
Well, if you watch, I just saw a replay a little while ago. When McCaffrey fumbled, he's like talking to Karlaftis, like trying to make small talk with him. When the ball's laying behind him. Like he could have turned around and jumped on the ball.
Yeah,
if
there
he's
was
not,
some. There
like,
was
goofing
time the
around.
ball was was around.
Just all around the 49ers offense just blew the game. What else did I have written down? I mean, a couple of points. Like the Chiefs led the league in holding for offensive linemen. No holds were called on them.
There
they
was
were holding a
some
lot.
blatant. I mean, I think San Fran got
Blatant
away
holds.
with one late in the fourth, if I remember.
They
But
might have.
there was that 3rd and 10 that Kelsey converted that Bosa got
Yes.
tackled before or it's a sack.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got to call
So-
that stuff. I'm sorry.
That's a joke. Yeah, I mean, I saw jerseys being held like on a couple of those last plays. Absolutely.
Mahomes scramble play where he not the big one, but on the 3rd down,
Yeah.
the guy got wrapped around too. It's
So
I just don't agree with that.
Did Mahomes play well in the fourth quarter and overtime? Of course, but 49ers lost that game. 49ers should have won that game. They blew it.
well. Another part. I mean, I'll let Chalky take the floor. I blame Shanahan a lot, and you guys covered it, but and Reed was bad too. But the end of the second quarter, like into halftime, no timeouts. He gave why is he not using? Kansas City's not going to run out of time. They had 2 timeouts, 3 timeouts, I think.
Right.
Why is he not using timeouts
Yeah.
to get the ball back?
He should,
Game management's bad.
Right? What do you?
he should have called timeout on the last play of the game too, because they were not set up to cover that play.
Yeah, I
at
agree.
all.
I agree. There's
That's the most important play of the game. Call a timeout. Get your
Yeah,
defense.
I think it's
set
over.
up.
By that
the one
point,
thing
I
I
think the
heard
game was
about
over,
that
but-
play was obviously the Chiefs were going for it on going for 2 if they scored. That was their 2-point conversion play, and because
Yeah,
they didn't need it,
In this position.
they used it to win the game.
And I don't think that I read or I heard that wasn't the play, like corn dog or whatever. That wasn't to go to Hardman. It was like another guy that was
Well,
supposed to.
Bosa, I think if you watch it, Bosa, it was all based on Bosa.
And Bosa blew up
So-
whatever the play was.
Bosa, it was going to be a shovel pass, and Bosa just went right there. And if it wasn't, then Mahomes is either going to run or he's going to throw it.
And Hardman sitting right there was
So Mahomes had
Well,
two
I think
options.
there's options because that was basically the same play they ran twice against the Eagles last year for touchdowns. And
Yeah, Tony.
yeah, when
Tony
Kelsey,
scored again.
if you watch the play, Kelsey comes out and makes his break or whatever, and as soon as he sees that the one safety goes with him, he just stops and looks at the
Stops
scoreboard
and
because he
goes.
knows they're going to score. So if that guy doesn't go with Kelsey and goes to Hardman, then Kelsey, the way they were lining up, would have been open for in the back of the end zone to get hit there. So I don't know that they played it wrong because I think a timeout, they might have been able to scheme something better. But I think just the way the play was designed, there wasn't going to be an option that they could have covered everybody unless they got lucky. But
Bosa was too aggressive for me during the game. Like he's got a lot of times he was losing containment on Mahomes. You know what I mean? You can't come all the way around like Mamula used to do. Remember Mamula used to come all the way around and then you had that lane to run. You can't lose containment on a guy like Mahomes. He's just going to take off. So I think the 49ers lost the game more than the Chiefs won it.
Chalky, anywhere avenues that weren't explored yet? You want to recap?
I mean, I've been playing Ultimate X, so I haven't really been listening. But no, look, I would say it's the reverse of San Francisco's first 2 games in that they were able to win because the other teams let them hang around and didn't finish them off, and San Francisco let Kansas City hang around because up until the punt, just from an enjoyment standpoint, all betting aside, it was a pretty sucky game. There wasn't a whole lot going on at 10-6.
That was terrible.
Yeah, and then boom, fumble, the muff punt, and then Kansas City scores the next play, and then every drive, including that one through the end, had at least some points scored. So it made the game a lot more interesting towards the end, at least, because at least there was some back and forth going on. But both teams left chances on the field. Until then, the best Kansas City drive was the fumble. They fumbled in the red zone at the 10-yard line or whatever. They hadn't really gotten closer than that the rest of the game before the turnover. And, it just went back and forth. And, in the end, you give Mahomes the ball with that chance, and they found a way to win. And he made up for whatever 70 or 60 something of the yards on that between throwing and running. He used his legs, which he's done in the past, beat the Eagles up. And I the Greenlaw injury has to be pretty important. I mean, if I think it's inside the NFL. It's on CW now, but they had the guys mic'd up during the game, and you see, like, as it happens, Mahomes sees it right away, and he's grabbing the offensive coaches and says, what's Greenlaw's number? I don't know. Let's say 52 or whatever. 57's hurt. 57's hurt. So he's letting his coaching staff know, this guy's hurt. Let's look at it. The Warner sees it happen, and he's like, no. And then, not to knock on Kittle, but maybe he's got high before the game at one of the smoke shops in Vegas, because they show him sitting on the bench, and he's like, oh, he tore his ACL? Oh, that's terrible. Like, no emotion, like, no care, like, oh, man. Like, okay, so you're going to be focused on the game, I guess, but it was just like, didn't give two, whatevers that they're one of their best players is now out for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and if you watch, I mean, if up until that point, too, he was like the heart and soul of the defense. He was between him and Werner flying around, but after every play, he's jumping up. He's, and that stuff that motivates the other guys.
And the fact that it happened, the fact that it happened in the first half, so the Chiefs had halftime to go back and regroup and sort of, and so did San Francisco, and maybe they changed it up a little bit to account for him being out and his replacement play well. I don't know. I doubt they called the exact same schemes necessarily, but I would just say, give both defensive coordinators credit, because, it wasn't, it went over because it went to overtime, but it wasn't, there was 2 touchdowns each side, right? So it wasn't like, a shootout like we've seen in some of the past couple years. And, they had kept the Chiefs offense pretty much contained until that turnover, but even then it was field goals the rest of the game until overtime. And give Spagnuolo credit, because, like I said, Purdy, I don't blame Purdy for the loss, but he wasn't lighting it up, and he took the risk of calling that blitz at the end of regulation against Purdy's best against the blitz, and it dialed up right, and he got the guy, and the D-back got the hand in his face. So, I think San Francisco played the better game, much like they almost did the first time they played, but, in the end, they couldn't get the job done. So now that's going to be a knock on Shanahan, I guess, until he gets a team across the finish line. Like Andy Reid had for a couple years.
He's got a very Andy Reid-esque feel to him right now. The games that they lose
still kind of young. We're still kind of young.
Oh yeah, but it's he has struggles with time management at times. He struggles with, stops running the ball. He, his when the game plan ain't there. It's a lot of the stuff that we said, with Reid. And then this year, they played good in the Super Bowl up until a certain point, but the defense, and Jason alluded to the preview show, that their defense wasn't what it was last year. And you saw it against the Green Bay, you saw it against the Lions. Now, they played well. There was a play where Shanahan called timeout was it the start of overtime, where he didn't like the alignment, and he called a timeout, and you saw him like kind of going after Wilkes a little bit. So I'm not surprised Wilkes got fired. From what I read, he wasn't even allowed to run some of his concepts. He was still running D'Amico Ryan concepts. So, but he didn't have the defense. Didn't bail him out. This goes down as a Mahomes and a Reid Super Bowl, and in 20 years nobody remembers it, and you just say, Meeker already alluded to him being the GOAT, but Brady had him too. So don't get me wrong, but. I could put a lot of quarterbacks in Mahomes' position and they win this Super Bowl. That's all. He scored at the end, but a lot of quarterbacks can score when they have the ball against a tired defense in the ends of game. And they played a prevent defense at the end of the fourth quarter, San Fran, to not let up a touchdown. And they easily got in field goal range in 3 or 4 plays. They're in field goal range.
They played to let the clock run out. If the Chiefs had another 10 seconds, they win the game in regulation. Probably.
I know they had them at third. They had a 3rd and 10, and if they stop them, it's a close to 50, 48-yard field goal. But they were playing way off the guy. So, to me, but Brady won a 9-7 Super Bowl or whatever it was against the Rams, where he was terrible. So. their quarterbacks are going to win and coaches are going to win. But Reed, I thought, was bad with the clock. He had some challenges that he left on the field with first down, bad spots that would have gotten them first downs. But at the end of the day, he has another Super Bowl. Mahomes has another Super Bowl, and Shanahan blew another Super Bowl. So, all right.
To me,
go ahead, me.
Yeah, I was going to say to me the hero was really Spags. I mean, I think the defensive game plan, especially
the defense won the game.
And their play calling, I mean, their offensive play calling in the fourth quarter and overtime, it seemed like everything was working. And I don't know whether it was that they were gassed or what it was, with the defense, but everything that wasn't working in the first half started to work in the fourth quarter.
Well, the Chiefs' offensive line outplayed the 49ers' offensive line. The Greenlaw injury was huge, and
Thuney's replacement he played really well.
And wasn't he the guy that tore? He tore like
he tore. Yeah, he got Tommy John. He got like Tommy John in the middle of the game and kept playing.
He had that injury that Purdy had.
Yeah.
Against the Eagles, he had during the game, and he played the rest of the game.
Yeah, I just think the run too. The run. I mean, I didn't pick him against Buffalo. I didn't pick him against Baltimore. I mean, I just was tired of not picking them, and I thought they would win this game anyway. But
yeah, you rode the public. You were riding the public train because they didn't pick him against Buffalo. And
they were right.
And then they picked them against.
They were a home underdog. I thought they would lose the game. I thought Buffalo was a better team, but the run that they had. I'm just talking about the run. I don't care about the public who I picked. I'm talking about the run that they had, beating Miami, beating Buffalo on the road, beating Baltimore on the road, and beating San Fran in the Super Bowl. It's probably more impressive than with a team that they had, which was nowhere near as good as any team that they've had that have won the Super Bowl or been in it.
But that's arbitrary because defensively they were better than any of the defensive teams.
Defensively they were.
Well,
yeah, I agree.
That's
offensively,
50% of the team was better than, and the other 50% had Mahomes. So I mean,
the opponents that they beat and the fact that they had to play 4 games, with a team with this offensive team, I thought was really, really impressive that they won the Super Bowl. It was impressive. I mean, I wanted to pick against them the first week against Miami, but
you had them dead to rights on Christmas.
Well, everyone did, I mean,
yeah, I think we all kind of thought Kansas City was not going to be not win a Super Bowl. I mean, they look bad.
No, definitely not.
All right. Anything else or Chalk? I think you had some of the statistics from our props from last week. You don't have to go through them all. Just kind of.
I'll go quick because it's not. I'll go in the order of that we gave them on the show. So I went first. My MVP bets were Kelsey, Samuel Kittle, touchdown. Samuel Kittle, Debo over 16.5 rushing and over 78.5 total. The last two I gave, I did hit Mitchell over 4.5 rushing yards, minus 105.
Yeah, that was early. He had that early,
and he had like one other rush the rest of the game. I was in the car on the way home, I think, from your mother's, and I heard it go over, and my wife's like, "Why are you cheering?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it." And then Chase Young over 2.25 sack.
That was early as well. That was early.
That was another one in the car. So that was 9 bets at $100 each. That nets a loss for me for minus $354.76. Tommy, Debo touchdown, Debo MVP. No. Chiefs red zone conversion for touchdowns under 59.5%. That hit at plus 115. Mahomes red zone interception loss.
Fumble. I should have went with it. I should have went with turnover.
Yeah.
They had, not to interrupt Chalky, but they had 5 fumbles in that game.
Dude, it was a slot. It was a slop.
They had fumble luck. Because San Francisco fumbled twice and lost both of them, and they fumbled 5 times and only lost one of them.
There was that one fumble. I swear Pacheco lateraled that ball. I don't think that was a fumble. And then the next play they converted the first down. If they review it and it would have been a forward lateral. It would have been loss of down, a whole thing. And that was another one but the CBS broadcast was terrible. They barely showed replays. They let Romo go on and on.
So let me tell you about the broadcast. I didn't think to mention it, but you brought it up. So after I got home and right at halftime, I threw some closing the laundry, and then I hear my wife screaming downstairs, and so the hose from the washing machine leaked, and so I got water in the basement. So I'm trying to get in with the shop vac. So I take my phone out to put the game on YouTube TV. I put it on, and I picked it. The first thing that pops up, Super Bowl, boom. Well, it's Nickelodeon. It's got SpongeBob and Ian Eagle, and I didn't change it because I didn't want to listen to Romo and Nance, and it was actually more entertaining, like than watching the actual. I had Nance on for overtime, but it was better through the end of regulation of watching those guys and listening to it than it was for, the first half of the regular game. But
the first 3 quarters of the game, I was in a bar that I couldn't hear one speck of the broadcast. Couldn't hear the commercials, nothing. Got home in the fourth quarter, and it was the most exciting part of the game. And Romo did not shut up.
Yeah, I got news for you. Nance has gotten.
I should have just hated this bar.
Nance has gotten to be just as bad. The Kittle first down on the 4th down. He said, "Oh, he doesn't get it. He's short. He made it by like a yard and a half."
And listening in the car, Kevin Harlan is very exciting and energetic, but he's gets a lot of stuff wrong too. Oh, not much of a gain, 8 yards there. I was like, what? That's pretty good, whatever. But anyway, back to the props. Over 1.5 field goals, Bucker, that hit. That was minus 155. I'm sorry, that was minus 120. Over 1.5 somethings.
Sacks.
For San Francisco, that was the over 155. Bucker over 1.5, minus 120 hit. San Francisco second half, minus 1.5 loss. KC under 14 for the game, loss. Justin Spieth, birdies versus field goals. Spieth had 5 birdies, 7 field goals in the game, plus 155. That was a hit for a total profit of $317.85 on 9 $100 wagers coming back. Meeker had a KC and under adjusted line parlay, loss. Pacheco touchdown, loss. Purdy under 20.5 completions, loss. Gray over 13.5. He didn't give a line on that. I was generous and gave him minus 115, but that did hit.
Yeah, that hit early. He had one catch, I think.
One catch.
And they said that's where they said it was Kelsey caught the pass. They said Kelsey would have passed, and then he gets out. Yeah, and it was Gray.
He had some sort of goofy parlay with game leaders, loss. More field goals than touchdowns at plus 400. If he did bet it, that hit. I'll give it to him, and then a tie for same number of field goals, touchdowns.
That's
loss.
a nice one.
That was 4-1. So Meeker comes out with a profit of $186.96 on those $100 bets. And then finally, Jason, don't have odds on these, but he wanted the first play to be a Purdy screen to Debo because he said everybody's going to think McCaffrey's going to get the ball. McCaffrey got the ball, but he couldn't bet that play. So if I remember correctly, you bet Purdy first completion and Debo first quarter reception, which was a winner. Over 3.5 field goals, each team getting it. San Francisco did not, but KC did, so that's 1 out of 2. Purdy under 31.5 attempts. Loss.
Over 3.5 field goals was for the game.
Oh, for the game, so that's a hit then.
That was a win.
I thought you'd said you bet each team separately to score over 3.5. So
that would be some big odds, 3.5 per team.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of these are bigger odds. Purdy under 31.5 loss. Moody over 7.5. Still won, even with the block extra point.
That was easy.
Under 2-point conversion attempts, 1. There were 0 in the game. Under 2.5 pass attempts. Unfortunately, that one lost with the McCaffrey touchdown. Purdy MVP loss. Kittle MVP loss. Or I'm sorry, Kittle touchdown loss. So that was our.
I had that Purdy bet won until overtime. Well, the game went to overtime, screwed everything up.
Yeah.
But,
that's the way it goes. They played the whole game.
Screw Tommy. Tommy would have won.
And then. Yeah, and then general bets, State of Nevada did set a betting record, so the fact the Super Bowl was in there did not hurt the handle, and it was a net win for the Nevada sports books. They did get hit on the KC covering and winning, and they got hit on the overtime prop. And I don't think anybody offered a streaker prop, but that hit as well if anybody did.
They win on parlay.
Because of the parlays and the future bets, I'm guessing when they cash them out as losers. Nevada sportsbooks did come out ahead for the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, but it was like $6 million.
Yeah, it wasn't a
for
huge
all the casinos. That's like basically a loss when you calculate all the crap that they spent for it.
Yeah,
the fact that every teaser won had to crush them. No matter how you tease the game, you won, which had to smoke them.
But it will not go down the books as the third, I guess, based on what Jason was saying, losing Super Bowl in however many years because of all the extras.
One thing I wanted to throw in too is watching that quarterback school. You see how seamlessly like the Chiefs run their routes and stuff. Like on the one play they showed, mentioned that guy Gray. He basically he was running to set a pick, and at the last second he just moves out of the way, and it's a pick,
Yeah.
but it's not a pick, and Kelsey's wide open. Like stuff like that is why they win Super Bowls.
Yeah, well,
and
that's
why
where
49ers don't,
that's
because-
Reed's special. That's coaching.
Exactly.
And that's where his.
And then you watch the 49ers running routes and stuff, and Debo half-assing stuff, and Ayuk slowing down, and Kittle goofing around, McCaffrey fumbling, and that's why you lose games.
Yeah. All right. Let's quickly go to next year. So Super Bowl would be in 2024. 59, 2024 season. Any early thoughts, Jason, on next year? Anything that interests you? Even if you gave out a win, like a odds, like a
Yeah,
winner
I'm gonna give you the NFC and AFC championship games, and then the Super Bowl. But I'm not gonna give you a Super Bowl winner. I'll start in the AFC. I think the Bengals are gonna have a last place schedule. You're gonna have everybody's gonna be healthy. You would think Burrow's healthy, and they'd have to improve their defense, which you'd think they would do in the offseason. I didn't look at, and I just saw something about cap space, and I saw Meeker Saints are last in cap space, so they're going to be in big trouble. But I didn't see what the Bengals cap space is going to be. But I'm really strong on the Bengals going to the Super Bowl, so I got them in the AFC Championship game. And spoiler alert, I guess I got them going to the Super Bowl. But you got to pick the Chiefs to play them, right, in the AFC Championship. I mean, Mahomes just gets to the AFC Championship game every year. So I know it's chalk, but Chiefs-Bengals. And I'm going to go back to the 49ers again just because Purdy is still on his rookie contract. I don't see the NFC as being that strong. And 49ers are still going to have a good roster. So I see them being in the NFC Championship game. I struggle with the other team. I'm going to say the Packers just because the Lions are going to have a first-place schedule now this year. Although
Yeah,
I think
they kept Ben Johnson, though, and that was the knock was going to be if he
Yeah.
leaves, but they kept him. And that's
yeah,
huge.
for me, it was between the Packers and the Lions. I just, I look at the schedule and say that the Packers will have an easier schedule. They might win that division. So, slightly the Packers, but I think it'll be 49ers, Bengals in the Super Bowl. I mean, I would lean Bengals to win, but I don't know.
Yeah,
That's my
it's
Super Bowl.
right, so much. All right, Chalky.
Yeah, I mean, Bengals were my preseason pick, so I'm going to go back to them. Sitting right now, they're 13-1 on DraftKings. So, with Burrow missing a lot and being hurt for games he actually played, they finished the season 9-8 in the toughest division in the league because everybody had a winning record. So you figure if they get a little bit of a break with the health, they'll be better. Now, I don't know what their space is, but they do have to figure out what they're doing with Higgins. He's their marquee free agent this year, I think. On the other side of Chase. And the NFC, I mean, San Francisco should be back in the championship game. I don't think they have any major free agents coming up, and even if they did, the Purdy cap space will give them a chance there. One of the opening lines I saw that I would have put a bet on was some books opened the Jets at 40-1. I mean, I don't know. Rodgers is going, who knows how he's going to be able to play or healthy, but if they get any kind of consistent quarterback play out of him, 40-1 would have been worth a shot, but they've already dropped to 25-1 at DraftKings now, so, say what you would. But as a longer shot, I thought them. And then an interesting team, I was looking at another team from the Central. The Bears seem to be priced a little lower than I would have thought.
That was your team last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Bears.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm assuming
Who's their
they're going
quarterback? Who's their
they're going
quarterback?
to stay at 1 and draft Williams. But their defense was really solid towards the end of the year. So if Williams is as good, even as a rookie, as some of these pundits are saying, they might be able to get to a championship game. I'm not picking to win the Super Bowl or even get there because I don't know that any rookies ever made the Super Bowl, right? But as a championship game flyer against, a San Francisco, maybe take a shot there.
Meeker?
Yeah, I mean, in the NFC, I'm just going to look for a team that played really well in the second half and has some room there to add some pieces, and that's the Rams. I like the coach, obviously, good quarterback. They obviously found the really good offensive. They found some good offense this year in some of the rookies that they played, and they can improve that defense a little bit. I think they'll challenge San Fran for the division, maybe get to the championship. San Fran will probably be there again. Same thing with the Chiefs in the AFC. You got to think that at some point in time, Josh Allen's going to get his day, and he's going to get Mahomes out at some point. So I'll look towards the Bills to challenge for the AFC and maybe play the Chiefs in an AFC championship again.
All right, and I took this. Oh, jeez. I took this a different way, and I'm going to open it to you guys. So I always look at rookie or second-year coaches, and then that have rookie, quarterbacks on rookie deals. Now I got the second-year coaches, so I was going to throw out play teams and then let you guys. So Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals, no shot, right? All right. Sean Payton, Denver.
Who's the
Yeah,
quarterback?
figure the
gonna be?
quarterback
They don't
situation.
I don't know the
quarterback.
quarterback situation. That's going to be tough. I mean, it's not.
It's not going to be Wilson. It sounds
It's
like
not
so
Wilson.
You can't. It's hard to
Yeah,
say
I mean,
without that.
without having a quarterback, I can't. I have
It's
to
hard.
Say no.
But these last two are intriguing. D'Amico Ryans, who has what's his face on his rookie deal.
My only issue there
Stroud.
is that
Stroud.
Houston had a last place schedule this year, and we'll have a first place schedule next year. That's
Right.
That's my issue with that.
And then
He's a defensive
go ahead,
coach,
Meek.
so I mean, I think that they're not that they were weak defensively. They actually played pretty decent defensively. But if they can improve their defense, and another year of Stroud, maybe add another piece on the offense, it would be a tough team. I mean, of all the teams you've mentioned so far, I like Houston better than the other two.
And then, well, we got one more. It's Steichen. So the Colts and Richardson's back. So you have
Depends on
Richardson
what you
in
think
his
of Richardson.
right.
Yeah.
What do you think of Richardson?
I mean, people are high
Steichen
on
looks
him.
like a good coach.
Yeah, and they
He
were
played well.
Yeah.
He played well.
He
before
played
got
well.
hurt.
and
I mean,
before he got
they were in the hunt for the. I mean, look, it came down to that last game with them in Houston to see who got into the playoffs. I mean, I would go Houston only because we've at least seen something with Stroud. Now they'll have a book on him for a second-year team, but I think that AFC South is the weakest probably in that conference. So for one of those teams that, I mean, Jacksonville didn't make it. They might be, I mean, there are teams that can make that are okay or they're winning records, but no real juggernauts right down there. I think where you can at least point to one in some of the other divisions.
I mean, Stroud could be special.
right.
Could be.
Yeah.
If he's special, then maybe
I mean, he showed me things that I was not expecting, even late in the season, that he made the right decisions against the blitz. I mean, there were some plays that
I'm just always leery of last to first, and then what happens
Yeah.
the year after.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Now the schedule's harder. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's one.
But yeah, I agree with Chalky with that division, though. I mean, you might come out of that division like, well,
Yeah,
I mean,
but I
the
think
Colts-
the division's tougher now because the Colts
Yeah.
aren't bad and Jacksonville's not
Right,
bad.
although
I mean, you
maybe
can't say
nobody's
that.
juggernaut, they're all much better than they
Yeah.
have
Right.
been in past years.
They could be
So there's no-
evenly matched, but no juggernaut.
So it's the same situation where 9 or 10 wins that division, and it comes down to the last game again. But yeah, it's funny that because Frank Wright was one of those coaches, and obviously he's gone. So NFC is you only have Gannon that fits into that into that bucket. But the AFC has more. So that was just something a thought. I agree with you guys on San Fran. I don't see them falling into the 31% that only makes the playoffs. I see them staying. Cincinnati was my preseason pick last year, and I think if Burrow stays healthy, they would have had a shot. It's funny nobody picked San Diego. Nobody picked the Chargers with Harbaugh and Herbert.
The only reason I didn't is because I'm strong on the Bengals and it's the Chiefs. I think the Chargers will make the playoffs, and I think they'll be in. I think they'll win a playoff game, but I don't think they'll beat the Chiefs or Bengals.
When did Harbaugh take that San Fran team to the Super Bowl, and what year of his coaching them?
2.
He was there.
He took them to the
It
championship
wasn't the
game
it was the second
in
year.
their first 3 years, and the Super Bowl was in the middle year.
Okay, so he made it to the championship game on his first year with that team. Interesting.
Yeah, that's it. That they lost to the Giants in overtime when the punt returner had a concussion. They left him in the game and he fumbled.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
I was going to say, I think an interesting move maybe for Denver would be that I would think the Browns are going to go back to Watson, and I don't know if they're going to keep Flacco as a backup just in case Watson gets hurt. But if he's on the
Flacco's
market,
done. He had
maybe
Flacco's one and done.
He had his flash.
Maybe and see what he can do there.
You ain't
with
doing a
Peyton.
whole season with
No.
Flacco. He's not. He
They
had
tried
his flash.
Flacco in Denver already. He's not going back there.
The only
Right.
halfway decent quarterback, and I'm not a big fan of his, that's available is Fields.
Fields
It sounds
is-
like Pittsburgh wants Fields.
Well, Tannehill. I heard, and Pittsburgh. They were saying Tannehill too. To Pittsburgh.
I think somebody's got betting odds of I don't know if it's even money or close to it for Fields to go be playing for Pittsburgh next year.
I mean, Russell Wilson, I guess, is available. I don't know.
But
is he going to...
He is Denver's quarterback, and we're talking about Denver.
Yeah, right, if we're just talking about Denver. But I'm just talking about, quarterbacks that are available
Yeah.
for teams that maybe are decent quarterback away. But, yeah, if we're talking Denver, obviously it's not going to be Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know who the hell they're getting.
What's up with Kirk Cousins?
Oh, that's true.
He is a free
available.
agent, I think, right? Yeah, so that's...
Yeah, that'd
that
be
could-
interesting to see where he goes.
That could be. I could see him going well with Peyton.
Oh yeah,
He,
for
sure.
he's timing and pocket and kind of similar to Breeze to a certain
Yeah.
extent
Yeah.
of that offense.
Yeah, if they get Cousins. The AFC's tough.
Yeah, as it
Jimmy
was
Buffett,
last year.
right? The
we
Jets are going to be good. The defense is good. They're going to have a Hall of Fame quarterback. Chargers are going to be better. Chiefs are the Chiefs. Bengals are definitely going to be better. The Browns are not going to be bad. I'm not a Watson fan, but the Browns are good.
Raiders
still have
played
the
well
Browns.
with Pierce. They don't have a quarterback, but
Nah, they don't have a
I
quarterback.
don't think they're like an easy out. As years pass.
Is Mayfield a
And-
free
and-
agent?
I think Tampa Bay is going to bring him back.
Yeah, I think he is though. I think he only signed a 1-year deal.
But Tampa Bay, yeah, I think Tampa Bay wants him back. Jacksonville, maybe
Yeah, they disappointed.
Right. They're tough too.
That's a team that if they don't show up next year, that Doug's going to be
I
gone.
think they'll fire Peterson. Yep,
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree with that.
All right, we I don't want to go too long here, so good thoughts. Do another 10 minutes or so before we call it a show. Move on to the NBA and the Sixers. We're getting, I think it's this weekend, right? Is the All-Star break? Is that right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's about the halfway point. We touched on the Sixers trade last week briefly before the Super Bowl show, but you got some couple games to watch Buddy Hield play. Obviously, no Embiid. Jason, what's your early thoughts? Any additional thoughts of Embiid coming back, or if he does come back, what it can turn into?
I like the roster. It's, the problem's going to be, can Embiid come back in time to save them from falling to the 7th or below seed? Because you don't want to play in that play-in series, especially with Embiid. You don't want him playing extra games or whatever. So, if you look at their roster, the starting lineup's going to be strong. Embiid, Harris, I don't like him, but, Batum plays once every 2 weeks. So, but, when he plays, he's good. Hield has looked great, and I think he'll look even better with Embiid. I think he's going to fit in really well with Embiid, and then Maxey, of course. And your bench is strong. You got Oubre. Now you're bringing in Lowry, who's he's a guy with a lot of experience. He's a bulldog. He'll set Embiid straight, I'm sure. Melton. You have a nice roster. I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs if Embiid's healthy. But again, they have to finish in the top 6. If they don't, I don't like their chances at all.
Yeah, NBA too. It's like you're 2 games away from fourth place. You're 2 games away from 8th place.
Well, right now, it's a good point. Right now they're 5th, 1 game ahead of the Pacers, but they're only 2 or 2.5 games ahead of the Heat and Magic.
Right.
So you're gonna have to hold off the Heat and the Magic. You know, it's gonna be tough because they are not good. without Embiid. I mean, they could lose any game.
Yeah, they go through some scoring droughts. You know, they don't have that guy.
They don't have anybody to
Yeah,
you
they
know,
can
in
score.
the lane to stop well,
Nah.
defensively
Or,
too.
yeah.
I mean, Reed couldn't stop me defensively. So
Yeah, Chalky, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jason. It's going to be how can you do hopefully better than just treading water while Embiid's out, because they're only 2.5 ahead of Miami and Orlando, but they're only a game and a half, I think, out of third. Cleveland's actually in second. I didn't realize they had gone on a run to get that high. They probably won't hang up there, and everybody's looking up at Boston. Hield has been as good as advertised on offense, and he has not been good on defense, but he has not been as bad as he may have been advertised. So I'll take that as a win. But I mean, it's even, obviously the Embiid injury is paramount, but I don't know that they've had the same starting lineup for 2 consecutive games for the last 2 or 3 weeks, because, Maxi's in and out, Harris is in and out, who's got a virus this night, Covington hasn't played and whatever. So there's no, you have guys getting hurt and there's just no consistency of, okay, well, Embiid's out, but these are our 5 guys. It's just, you're not seeing that. So to get the guys, especially with the guys brought in through the trades to gel, they're going to have to hopefully get some luck injury-wise that they can roll the same guys out night after night. And just try to, they're not going to go on a 17-game run or whatever like they did Simmons' rookie year, I'm sure, to end the year. But, I don't want them to play an extra game, but actually the 7-10 game doesn't necessarily worry me as much as it might have, because Milwaukee's a little bit of a mess right now. So whoever you end up with that 2-game, 2-7, I want to hold Boston off till the conference finals if you're good enough to get that far.
the one thing I'll say though, there is I think Cleveland's going to win that division. So I think you would get Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they'd be ahead of Milwaukee if they win the division, sure. So it's possible. And look, Cleveland crapped out in the playoffs last year. We'll see what they end up, if they're ready for a run this year or not. It's just going to be hard to get a real read on this team until, even if you don't have Embiid, till you get a regular lineup that you're playing every night.
Yeah, Meeker, take us home.
Yeah, really not a lot to add. I mean, the Sixers schedule, like I was saying in the last podcast, is a little tough coming off of the All-Star break. They do get some easier games at home in late February and early March, but it's all about what you said, Jason. I mean, it's all about trying to keep out of that 7th spot, and that's going to be a tough task, with some of the games that have coming up. And they have another West Coast trip where they play the Clippers and Oklahoma City, or no, they're playing them at home. But yeah, I would have loved to see this team with Embiid, and the moves that they made, because they are deep. They have probably, I don't know, I would call it a better roster than last year, but at this point, maybe they do if Embiid's healthy. Yeah, it's gonna be tough if they have to play that play-in game, just like you were saying. I don't have a whole lot to add because you guys really covered it. What I wanted to say.
Yeah, it all comes down to Embiid and when he comes back, and we talked about it before with these in season trades. It's it takes a while to figure each other out. And without Embiid, it's going to be like him coming back into another in-season trade because he hasn't played with Heel and Lowry, so.
And the other thing is you want him to be in shape.
And, he's going to be off his feet for how long,
Mm-hmm.
So it's
not
hard.
The injury you want when you're 7 foot, whatever.
Have they said anything more since the surgery and the expectation of when he's returning, or it's still?
They just said they'll reevaluate in a month.
4, right?
I don't know when that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I mean, I really, even if you're like on the edge of the line there at 6'7", I would not rush him back. I mean, you made moves like Hield and bring Lowry in, like those contracts are at the end of this year, so you're trying to do something this year with those guys. So let Embiid get healthy and make a run at that point, as opposed to rushing them back to make sure you don't have a play-in round. But I think
they'll try to bring Hield back, don't you think?
I think it's possible. I mean, look, they're going to go big game hunting again because Harris's contract will be off the books, and who that might be, Lord only knows. He called
They
more
called
about
LeBron
and Kevin Durant at the trade deadline, and The name that seems to be on a lot of people's lips right now, depending on guess how they finish, is Paul George, because he's the one guy out there.
And he's not coming here.
I doubt it, but Kawhi has re-signed and George has not yet. So
What do you think about Bridges?
I would love to get him if he's really available, but I don't know the Sixers haven't. I don't know those. I think Brooklyn can get a better deal elsewhere, whether it's picks or players, than what the Sixers can do at picks in the offseason.
All right. I guess that wraps up episode 94 of Broad Street Hustle. Getting close to that show 100 next week. I don't know what we're talking about. Phillies, maybe. Some spring training games to talk about. Some All-Star break. I don't know. We'll see. Episode 94, Broad Street Hustle. Have a great night.